this is Drew Terrian from Out of the Doghouse, and I'm here today to go over a little bit of what I do to get the dogs trained here. We talk about movement a lot, we talk about pressure, and then we talk about how we can help our dogs know exactly what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. And to start that, I like to use a marker system of language that pinpoints that moment that the dog has done it correctly, or that moment that the dog has made a mistake, especially when they're not listening or doing a behavior that you don't really like. So that marker system is pretty simple in how it sounds. Yes, good, and no. Three sounds, three separate words that each mean something very specific. The yes is a word that we like to say when we are prepared to give our dog something, such as a reward of food or a non-reward as a toy. So they do something that we like, such as sit. Does it correctly, I say yes, and then the dog's going to move towards me to receive that reward. It's an instant moment. Think of a camera snapshot. You click that shutter of that perfect moment and there's your picture. So that's what that yes means. The other thing about yes is that it's a release word. That means the dog is free to move, and specifically free to move to me to get a piece of food or that toy. So when I have my dog Daisy out and she's out at the edge of the woods and I call her come, she might be coming along, but as soon as she commits and I see her and I say yes, she comes barreling at me because she knows exactly what's going to be happening. So yes is the release word, yes means the command is over, and yes equals that you're going to get a piece of food. Our next word is another happy word. The word is good. Good has its own conditions too. Good could mean you're getting some food. It could mean you're getting a reward. It also means continue doing what you're doing, that the command is not over. Such as if I want to build my sit-stay, I'm going to build duration. I'm going to use the word good because that means the dog shouldn't be moving. The dog's going to stay in place. So it would sound something like this. I could say, Daisy, sit. And then I'd mark it as soon as she said, good. I could walk to her and give her a piece of food, or I could just let her hold that good. The food after the word is important so that she continues staying. It's in her best interest. There's a lot of incentive. And then I could release her with some kind of proactive command, let's go, come, or I could use the word yes, since yes is a release. So we have two happy words, yes and good. Our third word, which is not so happy, is our no. And we really need this word to balance out or contrast what our dogs are doing. They need to know that they are, one, not listening, and two, doing something that we don't want them to do and they have to stop. So no is set up to mean that, first of all, you're not going to get food for that, and then you might get corrected. And we'll talk a little bit about what those corrections are in a moment. So three words, yes, good, and no. Yes equals a release and you did it correct. Good means keep going, you're not done yet, and then no means you've made a mistake and you have to do it again. So these three words are conditional, and they also predict an outcome, and that's great for dogs because dogs like predictability. They like to know what's going to be happening. And we like to have an expectation too, because if our dog goes ahead and chooses his own decision, we might not be happy with that. So our yes, good, and no make it clear of what the expectation is. All right, so we talked a little bit about, or I mentioned those corrections. In the corrections, it's a way of applying pressure. Pressure, think of it as pressing the brake in your car. You need to slow down. We're going into a curve and you're going too fast, so you have to press the brake. It slows you down. Those are what corrections are. The other thing is, think of driving the car, where you've got the steering wheel going and we're making these tiny little adjustments to stay on the road. Corrections adjust and redirect, so they're very important to the dog as well to help them do what we want them to do. Of this pressure, I have three things I like to talk about. First and foremost, you get to be the tool. You are the best tool ever because you're thinking and you get to decide. So you can use your body, and I call this social pressure. A lot of times we'll lean in and like a parent, we're going to and we're going to tell our dog. So that's social pressure. We can move our dogs with our body. We can make them back up. We can make them get out of the way. We can hold them in their sit. We can use our hands and our hand signals to apply spatial pressure, such as a sit or a way to teach our dog down or to come. Those are all kind of spatial pressures to encourage the dog to understand our commands. The next kind of pressure that I like is on a leash. And this is a very physical pressure. This is not a medieval torture tool, but this, think of it as the dog's mother's teeth. When puppies were little, Mom would talk to puppies with her mouth. She would pick them up by the back of their neck and she would move them about. She would say, okay, oops, that puppy's escaping, I'm going to go pick them up. And she'd pick them up on their neck with her teeth and bring them to her. So that's all this is Mom's teeth. And what's nice about this type of collar is it has this little set ring in the middle, and that means your dog will never strangle because it's never going to tighten up so much that it chokes them. It's just going to do some squeezing. Alright, so this collar is called a prong collar. And the other thing that I have on here is a quick release. I set this up to make it easy for my dog owners so that they can put the equipment on without difficulty. Normally you have to squeeze these prongs and pull them apart. And that's not easy, especially if your dog's wiggling around. So it's just very nice to have the quick release. Click it, and now you're ready to go. So this is, again, a physical pressure. When the dog pulls away, it tightens up. So there's pressure at the end of the leash because they're doing something we don't like. When they're within the space and it's comfortable, there is no pressure, and the collar just sits on their neck. All right? So, again, the other thing that's nice about this is in the beginning stages, our dogs don't know which way to move, and by being on the leash, this can be directive. It can be pulling the dog back or up or down, and then the dog can move and to release that pressure, and it's called give to pressure. So again, I like it. Sometimes I call it, the mama collar, because it's just, again, representative of her teeth. The third piece of equipment that I have is our remote training collar. This is a lovely piece of equipment, and it has a receiver and it has a transmitter. What I really call this is my dog's cell phone. Because the dog wears the receiver, I can talk to the dog with my transmitter. And this follows our no as far as correction. That's when we're going to be using this, so that the dog says, oops, what did you want me to do? Oh yes, I can do that. Where we start with this is the lowest level the dog can perceive. So we condition the dog to understand what the feeling is, and they're responding correctly by paying attention and moving towards us because of the pressure that they're feeling out at the end of the leash. It's really nice because it is going to make our dogs think more, think in a better way. Think about the decisions that they've chosen, or so that they can do it right. Because if you see, there's no ring on this. There's no way to attach a leash. The dog just wears it. And then we come in and we make decisions for them and help guide them with our adjustments, like steering. We're going to guide them back using little bits of pressure. So these are just some of the things that I like to use. I like, again, the social pressure, the prong pressure, which is directive and physical, and the remote collar, which is mental. And I'll tell you, once we have our dogs thinking, we have more of their brain, we have more of their willingness, and they'll want to work with us. And quite honestly, because of our marker words, we have those two happy words, we'll find that we're not using no quite as much. Because the dogs know when they hear yes and good, they've done it correct, and they'll be wanting to do those more. And so that's it about the equipment, and I just wanted to give a little intro about that, and thanks for listening. This is Drew Terrian from Out of the Doghouse.